Look at the book of Revelations in the 18th chapter. Tell you that they want the slaves and the souls of men, and they rule them by a form of sorcery.
We are only speaking the actual fact. We are only speaking the actual facts. We are only speaking the actual facts. Speaking the actual facts, the actual facts.
We got to do soyons.
We are only speaking the actual facts, the actual facts, the actual facts, the actual facts.
We got to do soyons.
We are only speaking the actual facts, the actual facts, the actual facts, the actual facts.
We got to do soyons.
The definition in the according to the father. Now he's written a book, 4-series book called Leviathan 1 and 2, 3 and 4. There's a 4-part series. It's an incredible book. It speaks about this day and time, the various leaders that have positioned themselves to work on the behalf of the beast, to work on the behalf of this reptilian-like species that has incarnated on the planet and has made themselves, let's say, a mix amongst the humanoids, right? Can y'all hear me in the chant in the back? You hear the there. And it also speaks about how people were warned about this day and time and the political unity that that the system has said that it's better for humanity from coming up under a new world order, right? And so what is this new world order? What is the gains and what are they trying to accomplish with this one world order? And we'll see the weaknesses and the judgment that will come upon Babylon. We'll see how you are told to come out of her, my people, in the book of Revelations. You're told to come out of her before you receive the plagues of this new Babylon. Now, they compared the new Babylon to old Babylon because the old Babylon or Babylonian kingdom, right, with the Hammurabi codes and the layout and the specific laws that was placed over this new creation, this new species, the Adamites, and under certain kings that were appointed by this group of Elohim or beings known as the Anunnaki. And we had several discussions about this, but we have to keep rehashing it because they play an intricate role in this new Babylon, right? And the new area, this new cage that is spoken about, the cage of every foul bird and every unclean spirit. And it's a reason they use the word unclean spirit and every foul bird, right? Because most of the characteristics of the Anunnaki Elohim, that's the creator gods of the Adamite race of Genesis, you'll see that they portray them as having wings. A lot of times they'll have them depicted in various sculptures, right? Cathedrals, courthouses. You'll see these gargoyle type beings that are very evil reptilian type species that are part of this design. A lot of their architecture, it reflects in their art. The artist obviously reflects within his creation. So when you see these gargoyles and demons, they have one in a suitcase that the father had mentioned in one of the updates, right? He spoke about how there was an Anunnaki in the airport in Denver. If anyone has been there, you see this being sitting in a suitcase. The suitcase is up and people are like, what does that represent? It represents how they have imported themselves and placed themselves in various areas of society unnoticed, specifically in a briefcase, which is business. And so they're in the business world, they're in the economic world, they're in the areas that control the masses amount of people.
Look at the book of Revelations in the 18th chapter. Tell you that they want the slaves and the souls of men, and they rule them by a form of sorcery. You know what? If the black people ever figured out or sat down and calculated how much money they make, they would be the 3rd richest nation in the world. Black people in the Western Hemisphere make more money than most foreign countries. You make more money than France as a whole country, blacks alone. They just don't know the power they have. And the way to hit them is stop working for them and start working for self and kind. Start doing things, start building business from the inside out. Stop giving yourself to them as slaves and then expecting them to treat you other than a slave. Right. If you want to be treated like a slave, keep working for them. As long as you work for them, you're still a slave. Or you got to look at the book of Revelations in the 18th chapter, tell you that they want the slaves and the souls of men, and they rule them by a form of sorcery.
These beings are not very friendly. You have various types, even the reptilian species, which we'll get into, that works with Leviathan. Now, the word Leviathan, of course, is from Akkadian, meaning law, Lawi Athan, and it means to bind or to come to connect. Athan, meaning to connect. But the Akkadian word stems from, and the Bible speaks about a sea monster with various daughters of reptile or whale. And you'll find that in the book of Job. You'll find that in various verses where this species or this Leviathan being is likened unto a sea monster. And so Leviathan also is likened unto a monster that's coming out of the sea and having his feet on land as well as in the water, which is symbolic of the types of people that will be controlled by Leviathan in the end. And the mark of the beast, which most people won't know. They think that it will be a 666 symbol, right? But the Father explains His Excellency, Dr. Malachi Z York, being a translator of the book of Revelations and using the translator of the book of Revelations. He speaks about it in the particular, every verse, he gives a commentary with the correct translation from the Hebrew and the incorrect translation from the King James version. And you'll also find the Greek translation there as well. Welcome all, Rahubat, everyone tuning in. And so this Leviathan, there's other what do you call authors that spoke about it, that gave hints that the Father makes reference to, where many authors were warning people about this day and time. The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow. It was by Constance E. Combe. David Spangler, Initiation as a Luciferian. He was initiated. He talked about it. Cream says that cash will be abolished, right? This is authors 1983 in The Hidden Dangers of the Rainbow. Cream spoke about this. He's saying that the cash will be eliminated. Also, the Church of Rome had information about it. You'll also find it in the book called The Controllers, The Hidden Rulers of Earth, Identity by Commander X on page 55. It gives reference to the New Age movement and the coming of age of barbarianism, which we're seeing that today with a lot of these wars unfolding and the necessity or the obligation to kill for their overlords. This is still a part of the biblical text when you read about the sacrifices that was taking place amongst these gods, amongst these beings, amongst these lords, right? Enlil C, right, the brother of Enki, which are the sons of the Most High of their creation, of their race. And I'll answer the question that someone asked about who created them, because the last video that was uploaded, a lot of great questions came out of it, and I haven't forgotten them, but I want to tie it all in. So this race of beings, two sides exist, the cherubim and the seraphim. The seraphim are the Enki side, the agreeable side. The reason why we identify with Enki and his son Marduk, right, Melchizedek, the angel Michael, right, because his seed had tied into the African seed, the African bloodline. And Enlil seed were the ones, the cherub who came down and raped the Adamites and made a pact amongst each other to have sex and breed amongst this new creation, the daughters of men spoken of in Genesis chapter 6. You see the various creatures or creations or beings, right, that are in various and the different verses. You see the verses speaks about Benat Elohim, right, the daughters of Bet Elohim, the daughters of, Bet Adama, the daughters of the Adamites. Then you have Bain Elohim, the sons of the gods who gave birth to a specific demigods, or they bear children, as it says, right? And they don't tell you where that species exists. They still exist on the planet. And that bloodline still exists, that evil seed that those Anunnaki or Elohim were responsible for breeding, and they felt sorry for it, as it speaks about in Genesis chapter 6, verse 5 and 6, that this Lord repented for what he had done to man. Done to man, that he created man. Yes, done to man, created this Adamite. This is not the creation of all of human beings. A lot of various races, they have, especially the Nagardinatu, the African race, you have to be very mindful that you don't always tie yourself into a biblical story because you want to be a part of a group of people that seems to be blessed by God. That's our problem. We say, okay, that's us. We're the Moabites, or we're the Ammonites, or we're the Canaanites. And we try to tie ourselves in with these Adamite seeds. These seeds were breeding amongst each other, specifically the Canaanites. They were raping and having sex and spreading their disease all over. And the book of Genesis speaks about it as well. They were a group of killers in the land of Nod. That was a species. That the group or the Adamites were the red ruddy race, and it speaks about them being ruddy, which is a red skin texture, a red ruddy type of characteristics, and they were evil. And that seed that these beings repented for making that man. It says it in Genesis. You can read it, right? Let me pull it up real quick so we can have some context so people will understand. I'll read it, and then hopefully when we upload this also later, the verses will be there. We have some some good editing going on, so anything you miss, we'll just upload it later. So it says right there, Genesis chapter 5, 6, verse 6. It says, and it repented the Lord. Nacham is the word there. He felt sorry. He felt vengeful, meaning repentful, and that word is used 41 times as repent. So it's not something metaphorical or symbolic, as some people like to say. It says, and it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it had grieved him at his heart. So these beings were very upset at this creation and how they turned out, this breeding of this Adamite. They were very wicked, and this is from Enlil's seed, who had mixed in and had raped this group. You'll find that in the beginning where it says, and these beings took, that the sons, verse 2, that the sons obeyed Elohim, saw the daughters of men, and they were fair, and they took them. We spoke about this in several episodes, but we have to reiterate to let you know that that evil seed was placed in a group of Adamites, a group of specific characteristics, a specific species of newly bred beings that were bred 6,000 years ago. In 3762 AD, you'll see that this breeding is explained in the tablets of the various tablets, over 4,000 tablets. Not all of them explain the creation story. Some of the texts from Nineveh that Assyriologists have discovered and uncovered in their translations, they speak about it. We addressed this in episode 5. We went over these specific tablets, and we made a chronological detailed map of the correlating verses from the biblical text in Genesis 1 and the text of the Old Testament, the text found in the Cuneiform scribes that they found in the temples there, the collapsed temples in Nineveh, 4,000 tablets. And there's some specific, text or tablets, that's what I'm looking for, tablets that are correlate with the Genesis story. This is why the Genesis story, chapter 1, you don't see a Lord there. The word Lord doesn't pop up until chapter 2. The reason is because in chapter 1, the group is working. The group of beings, the gods are working. They're planning out how to breed a man, creating an environment that was, that was suitable for this new creation in a specific area that was void and it was without life in a particular area, not everywhere on the planet. And so the tablets address, those ancient texts address the beings specifically on how they came down, how they raped this new creation, and they gave them specific laws. But the Anunnaki or the Elohim were not the only species that were involved. There were a group of Okay, how is it now? How is it? Am I back? Okay, great. I just had to refresh. I can't complain because you know what happens. So, okay, so let's deal with this Draco star system. Yes, the Draco star system, right? They're from the northern sky, a part of the 48 constellations. They were listed by Greek astronomer Bartholomew and remains one of the 88 modern constellations today. It's in the 16th galaxy. Now, the word Draco comes from the meaning romanticized little serpent. Where are they, and where do you find them? You'll find them in the great. This is how the question comes up. Where do you find these Draco beings? In the Ku Klux Klan. This is the Ku Klux Klan's creation. These beings opened up. That's why they wore the hoods, and you wouldn't be able to see exactly who they are, right? And that's what they call the Grand Wizard, which is similar to the lizard, the Grand Lizard, or the Grand Wizard. So when you say these beings, right? Okay, so when you speak about these Draco beings or Draconian beings, they are part of the Leviathan plan as well, to keep you under a spell. And this is why they would burn the cross. This is why they would introduce fear. Fear secretes an adrenaline. It's actually a liquid secretion that these beings drink, and that's why oftentimes they will create a fear factor amongst you to release a certain amount of adrenaline, and they would use the adrenaline as a drug to get high. This is a part of when you see the scary movies, they always approach the person, give them the biggest scare of their life, and then you realize they've secreted the adrenaline. They'll chase them for a certain period of time, right? The catch the mouse and cat and mouse thing, where they're chasing the prey down, because the prey will always secrete a certain amount of adrenaline, and that adrenaline actually gives them a certain rush. This is the Draconian beings, right? Now, what happened is these Draconian beings and the law, right? When these Canaanites, this group of cursed lepers that were in the book, that were cursed in the book of Genesis chapter 6, chapter 9:25, and the seeds of Abraham, the breedings that was taking place in the book of Genesis and the book of Exodus down into Deuteronomy, specifically the book of Genesis, when you read all of these breedings, you'll see that there's mixtures taking place. But you were in the breeds, in the tribes, but you weren't mixing in with the tribes. They were raping the African seed. And that's why the Father is making a distinction on what tribes you were. You're not all of Israel. That's what our symbol speaks about. When you see one of the points, you say the Judahites. Why? Because the Judahites were a chosen seed to be protected out of the mixing that was taking place. There was a lot of sex and raping taking place, where tribes were coming in, barbaric tribes, even Esau as a hairy species, a hairy descendant. The Shaggies came out of his seed. When you look at the description of Esau, you'll see he was very hairy. Why did they call him hairy as a goat? Because he had shaggy hair all over his body. And in that, right, when you see that, you'll see that it's from what you call, it's going to sound crazy to some people until once you start hearing it a lot, because they can't explain it. They wait for the master teacher, that our Father in flesh, to explain that the Shaggies, or the goat man, or the Bigfoot that they call, right, this 10-foot species that came from Sirius, they were also brought here for the breeding of different the Neanderthal. They were brought not through the Adamites. There was another creation that I spoke about. We spoke about, the Father expressed the two creations of the two species. You had the hairy species, the 6,000-year-old Adamites with the red ruddy man, and then you had the pale Caucasoid, right? The pale man of 59,000 years ago that was bred from the Neanderthal and the Cro-Magnon up there in Europe, from the Nordics, the Nordic species. That was another race. That's another stock. That's why you have different stocks of Caucasoids. They know they classify Scandinavians. You have the Polish, you have the Irish, you have the Scottish, you have the Gales, you have the Dutch, and then you have the Adamites. The Nordic seed speaks about their overlords they call Odin, right? They say, well, our deities come from the sky, and they say, well, we're Celtics, right? And we have an older history. And the berserkers came out of that seed of the so-called Vikings, or 6 kings. That's another stock. But this shaggy being, this 6-foot Bigfoot that they say roams in the right woods, they don't know where it is, how it stays. This is they say it's an intelligent being that knows how to evade human capture, right? Yes, because they are also a part of the extraterrestrial breeding that was taking place, and they were used in humanoid breeding, and because of that, it came out in Esau's seed. This is why Esau and Jacob, they say Esau came out, he was a hunter, right? And they say, well, he was hunter, and he would go out and catch animals because he had the stock of the Sasquatch. And then Jacob was a feminine. He was a feminine male. This is why when you say, well, Jacob is the seed of the Jacobite, Israelites come out of him, but he was only favored from his mother, Rebecca, because he was in the tents. He was always inside the tent. That's not a characteristic of a herder or someone of that stock who was masculine, because they would go out and hunt. Why was Jacob always in the tent? Because he was more of a feminine type. So the breedings that was taking place amongst these Canaanites, Ammonites, Moabites, especially the 11 sons of Canaan, the Girgashites, the Hittites, the Arbites, the Amorites, right? Which the prophecy of Genesis chapter 15 speaks about the Amorite seed, which will be inflicting, or let's say in bondage. You will be in bondage under the Amorites in a land that is not theirs. You are in a land that's not yours. You're in a land, right, that you've been under the bondage for 400 years of a specific seed of the Canaanites, and in that land, because they worship Enlil and the overlords that they have introduced their laws to the society, and this is why there's a degradation of the system and things are falling apart, because it's being corroded. Why is it being corroded? Because they only had a certain amount of time to rule, and that Adamite seed now is dying out, and this is why their system is dying. And that's why
We are only speaking the actual
Thanks for
facts.
joining the Actual Facts Podcast. If you enjoy these lectures, please feel free to check out previously recorded episodes. Just click the link in the window, and please don't forget to subscribe, share, and like.
With Dr. Nuwaupian.
We are only speaking the actual facts.